So, I'm going to get started, give you a little bit of background on who I am, and then we'll get into why we're all here today, and then we'll welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Eddie Stevens, with his awesome presentation. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is AJ Brockman, and you are here among my vision. This is all something that is taking a lot of work and dedication, but I'll give you the whole background. So let me start a long time ago, long time ago. Let me get like this far, but no. Yeah, it's totally. So again, my name is AJ Brockman. As you can see, I'm in a wheelchair. I've been in a chair since I was 2 years old. I'm diagnosed with a condition, neuromuscular disease. It's called SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, the best way to describe it is basically a very prolonged ALS. So it's a neurological condition where I still have all feeling and movement, that the nerves that control the muscles just die away. So whatever the muscles I was born with is pretty much the muscles I have, and it doesn't affect me cognitively, but as life progresses, I get weaker and weaker, and it affects some respiratory issues, and you usually end up kicking the bucket from other complications, not really SMA. That's what SMA leads to. So all that being said, I've never looked at it as a disability. I've had some great parents in my life and surrounded by people that have really encouraged me to go after my dreams. Growing up as a kid, I had a very normal childhood, normal, quote unquote, but I was into skateboarding, surfing, would videotape. That was part of the deal. I couldn't skateboard, obviously, but my role was a videographer, so we would strap a camera to my chair, and I would follow along and videotape all the skateboarding. So it was cool to be involved any way that I could. I actually was a roller hockey goalie at one point. There's a video floating around on YouTube that is pretty funny to watch. But yeah, when I was a kid, again in middle school, I was part of the roller hockey league. They told me I couldn't do it, and when they told me I couldn't do it, it's when I made sure I could do it. So that was really a great experience. And then I've also really always been artistic. I grew up in front of the camera as well. I was part of the Jerry Lewis MBA Labor Day Telethon. I was never part of the national telethon, but we always had the local segments, and I helped to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for the MBA as a kid. So philanthropy and being in front of the camera, that was always a big part of my life, for sure. And that really probably grew into my passion for the arts. I've always been artistic. I love to paint and draw. When I could use my hands a little bit better, I would paint and draw traditionally. And as I lost the use of my hands, I kind of had to figure out how to still create. So I took a course, an elective course in high school called Commercial Art Technology, and now it's more commonly known as graphic design. And so I learned how to use a computer and computer software to create art and still express myself. And that was really a turning point in my life where I figured out that I could make a living and pursue what I wanted to do. So I ended up graduating high school, went on to pursue a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree here in Florida. I went to a small private school in Boca called DMAC, Digital Media Arts College, which is now part of Linton University, and I actually graduated valedictorian with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. So that was a really great accomplishment, and I was hired directly out of directly out of college by one of my professors. So that was a really cool thing, and when I talked to a lot of younger kids I try to always tell them, you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. And my professor really saw, my hustle and being a star student, and I never thought he'd offer me a job. I was just trying to do my best. And at the end, when I graduated, he gave me a job, and I went on as a lead designer right out the gate. I worked in the corporate world with him in the agency for about 2 years. I did websites, logos, you name it, everything, and I just got really burned out. I got tired of doing what everybody else wanted me to do. When you're this artist and you're jaded by what you want to do, well, the client is the one paying the bills, so you have to really adhere to what they say. And I made a decision one day that was really crazy, but I just quit. I quit a great paying job and decided to focus on my own art. And by that time, I had kind of developed a lot of my own techniques on how to do what I call digital painting, which is essentially painting on the computer. And that's really where everything started to click for me. And I started doing art shows. Some of you may remember me from Sunfest and Mardi Gras. I did all the local shows. And I have a video now that I'm going to show you guys that kind of recaps all that. And this was shot as a miniature documentary that was done about 4 years ago, or a little more now, 6 years ago. And it kind of recaps my journey up into that, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what we've been up to now. So here's my documentary, Painting with One Finger.
My name is AJ Brockman, and I am a digital painter. Digital painting itself has been around for a while, but it's been in different, arenas like concept art and architectural drawings and stuff like that. So I'm kind of bringing it to the next level in the fine art aspect. I started in art because I love it. I have a passion for it. When I was younger, I would paint traditionally. I used the paintbrush and acrylics just like any other artist would. And as my disease progressed, I began to use the use of my hands and was forced to transfer into more of a digital medium. I was fortunate enough to develop and understand how to use the computer and computer software to my advantages early on, and that's kind of how it started.
What I wanted to show you today, AJ, is a couple of pieces that are produced from our ceramic facility at the Lighthouse Art Center. And this first one thing that is one of my favorites is noticing artists who are blossoming, who are coming into their own in art. And one such person is AJ Brockman. When one of his works was first submitted to a call for artists called Contempo last year, I noticed it was a very interesting, completely something that a technique that I really hadn't seen before. And I thought that before I met the young man. Once I met him, I realized what a truly exceptional human being he is. And I've seen his career really take off.
I paint with my left hand, but more specifically, I only paint with one finger on my left hand. I really only have, 2 or 3 inches range of motion, left to right and up and down. I mean, that's it right there. And I'm able to use the mouse pad to do the brush strokes. And I always say that if J-Lo is going to insure her butt for $1 million, I should insure my hand for $1 million, because it's definitely my $1 million finger.
It takes an awful lot to take care of AJ. And it takes even more to be able to help AJ be the artist that he's becoming or become. And what I mean by that is that there's always been a certain aspect of care that he's needed. His vision is there, and he gives me the direction to get that finger in the right spot on that glide plate so that he can create what he needs to create, so that he's not fatigued, so that he can do it over and over and over again until he gets the piece that he wants. Putting his foot up, just doing everything that needs to be done to help him be the creative artist that he's become.
How are you guys? Yeah. Yeah, thank you, yeah. Good morning. We're here at the Palm Beach Gardens Green Market today, and I try to do at least one show every week, and today's the day. So this show is super important to me because it happens to be my hometown, and I get to see a lot of my friends and fans and people that I've grown up with. So it's going to be a great show and a great day. And the bigger one is more 4 to 5. So yeah, thank you so much. I know, I wish, right? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, all done on the computer. I do it all. Getting out and doing shows is not only important, but it's kind of cool in respects to what I'm doing. You know, I'm introducing people that maybe have never seen or even heard of digital painting or creating artwork on the computer, you know, aside from digital photography. And I'm kind of bringing that to a new audience and opening people's eyes to that. And people, when they look at me, their first impression is that I couldn't create stuff like this, or, you know, they don't even know that I'm the artist. But opening their eyes to this and really showing them how it's done, that my finger is, you know, essentially the paintbrush to a traditional medium. You know, that's how it works, and it's really cool to see people when they get it. My subject matter has a wide range of things, people, objects. I don't limit myself to a certain genre or a certain subject matter. Some of it is stuff that I wish maybe I could experience myself that in real life I couldn't do because of physical limitations. So maybe I want to paint that out. Zoom in here. I'll work on the eye a little more. Let's see. Go ahead and start fleshing out the eye a little better. There's really not a lot of other digital painters out there right now, especially representing their work as fine art. So I really draw on more traditional medium, and guys like, you know, Malcolm Farley here does some great action portraiture, and really enjoy his work. And David Ewell, one of the premier Harley-Davidson artists, does some really great stuff. I love his old style and vintage atmosphere. And even guys like Jeff Finley and everybody over at Go Media, they're doing some really great work, and they're designers. So I draw inspiration from all kinds of different media. One thing that I'm super excited about is the opportunity to work with the city of West Palm Beach. I have an upcoming deal where my artwork's going to be in multiple city locations and very accessible to the public. And it's super exciting because it can bring digital painting and my technique to a whole new audience.
Settings for exposure to great art are as important. You know, that backdrop is just as important in really fully appreciating the artwork. So I want to be able to do it justice by putting it in, you know, the greatest space that we have. And I think we'll be able to come up with something that Mr. Brockman is going to be happy with and will say yes to. Well, I'm showing AJ where I want to have him put a show together and have him work with us to do something pretty special between here and the pavilion and the nighttime things down there. It still is astonishing to me to look at work that you think is a real picture or you think is a real painting, and to understand, you know, that there's actual science that can trick the eye. I mean, I'm excited about that.
I'm not a very religious person, but I think that, you know, we more along the lines of fate. You know, like I've been given this hand in life, and it's, you know, I have so many drawbacks in certain areas, but I still have my one finger, and I use that because that's really all I have left, and I'm able to exploit that to still create and do what I want to do. And I feel fortunate that I at least have that finger to still work with. And when the day comes where I don't have my finger anymore, where my disease progresses to where I can't do what I'm doing now, then I'll move on to the next step and see where this goes.
Right on, thank you guys. So yeah, that does a better job than I could ever do on really giving you the full picture on what my art is and how I create. And if you're really interested, there's my website, singlehandedstudio.com, or you can just Google my name, AJ Brockman. I have a tutorial on literally how I create a painting from beginning to end. So, like I said, this video was shot about 6 years ago, and if you haven't noticed by now, my personality, I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm always trying to do the next big thing. And right after this, at one of my art shows, I was approached by a manager. So basically a guy, like if you were an artist or a musician, where you would hire a manager to try to get your work out there in front of the right people. He was the same guy in the art world. So I met with him, we put a deal together, and after working with him for a few months, he approached me on this idea that he had, and it's something that I kind of had in the back of my mind as well about, what if I could choose one person in the entire world, who would it be that could help me really get my art out there? And after some deliberating, and minus your political views or not, I thought, what more honor would it be to do a portrait of the president? So I approached Art about this, my manager, and he had some contacts. And long story short, in 2012, I spent almost 6 months creating a portrait of President Obama. And it was the only portrait that included his whole family and his dog, Bo. It was the first portrait with his dog. And so I did all of this, never knowing if I would ever actually get to present it to him or meet him. Again, my manager had some connections, but the president's a pretty hard guy to get a hold of. So I did all this. I submitted everything to his people, and was eagerly waiting by the computer for the email, and nothing. Weeks went by, crickets. Nobody was emailing me back, and one day out of the blue, I got an email from one of his press secretaries, that said, "Hey, we got your portrait. Obama's going to be down in South Florida campaigning." This was right around the time of re-election. I'm sure that was good press as well, but he said, "Hey, why don't you come meet him and present it?" And so I was blown away. It was at that particular one was at the convention center in West Palm Beach, and I showed up. I had my painting. Everything was ready to go. We get up front, and they're like, "Who are you? We have no idea who you are." So long story short, again, there was a major miscommunication, and I didn't even get to present it to him that day. So it was another huge disappointment. But again, I knew that I did it. I was able to use it, my press on my end, and literally 3 days later, we were reached back out to again and said, "Listen, we're really sorry. They were supposed to expect you," and this was from Obama's inner circle, and they said, "Hey, he's going to be down there again in a few months at the Delray Tennis Center, and it might even be better because you'll be able to actually have some one-on-one time." So again, we went down. I was like, "All right, well, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you." So I wasn't really prepared. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen, but it happened, and I was able to go in. and spend literally about 3 minutes with President Obama, which sounds like a short amount of time, but with the president, it was pretty amazing. So I had given him the original portrait, which was printed on canvas. It was enormous. It was about 4 feet wide by about 5 feet tall, and we gave it to him, and he assured me that he would take it home on Air Force One. Again, maybe empty promises or not, and hang it in his one of his private libraries. And literally, again, probably that next week, there was a picture in the New York Times by one of his photographers of my portrait being carried off of Air Force One. So he's a man of his word, and it was pretty an amazing experience to have all that. And that was probably the pinnacle of my career, and that image of the portrait being carried off Air Force One was voted one of the top 10 images by the New York Times of all 2012. So again, some really great accomplishments. And so after that was kind of the highlight of my career. And all along, all this time, as I began networking and making friends in the art community, I wanted to have my own gallery. And it was really hard to have my own gallery because of the adage of starving artists. I mean, it's true, it's hard to pay the bills. So we had come up with this idea on how to incorporate a new idea around in our gallery. So we said, why don't we do a co-op? So a typical artist co-op is where a lot of artists chip in to help lower their overhead, and they volunteer to run it, and they sell their work. So that was the basis of our idea, but we said, well, what would make that better? And the answer to that was beer. Beer makes everything better. So we opened the Brewhouse Gallery, which is next door here in the Lake Park Arts District. And back then, it was almost this entire plaza was empty at that point. And we took a chance. We opened it up. We said we were gonna, failure was not an option. And we opened the Brewhouse Gallery. And from day one, it's been a smashing success. I mean, we, again, the way our business model works is a lot of typical art galleries, they charge you a commission on your work. So they let you display, but they take 40, sometimes 50% on art. And by the time you pay for your material and everything else, the artist doesn't make anything. So we charge a low monthly rate, and the artist gets to keep 100% of their sales. We don't take any commission, and we do nightly events. And again, the beer helps. Once they have a few beers, they really like the painting on the wall. So it really has been synergistic, and in a typical art gallery, you get maybe 10 visitors, in an entire week. We're getting almost 100 people a night. So the exposure is a lot greater and really something special. So we, again, with the success at Brewhouse, we were able to expand, and we opened up into the other side. For those of you that have been to Brewhouse, if not, I encourage you to hang out at the after party next door. But we expanded into the other room, added about 40 additional taps. And for those of you that aren't craft beer drinkers, we have a lot of options. But when we expanded into the next room, it really started a movement. People saw the success that we were having. They said, Lake Park, I mean, where's that? Is that Lake Worth? It's like, no, it's not Lake Worth. And nobody really knew where we were. So when that happened, we started getting a lot of publicity. People started coming to more and more events. And before we knew it, the landlord of the entire plaza really didn't want to be a landlord anymore. Her name was Sue Ellen Mosler, a really great elderly lady that was a supporter of the arts for a long time. And she saw what we were doing and really believed in the vision and what we had going on. And she made us an offer that we couldn't turn down. And so 2 years after that, in 2016, we ended up purchasing the entire plaza. So when that happened, we were all in. I mean, at that point we were pretty much all in anyway, but when that happened, that's really what sparked the Lake Park Arts District. And we went from an 80% vacancy rate to almost an 80% occupancy rate. So we were able to turn around the whole plaza. We brought in one of the first only sanctioned or allowed tattoo studios. Again, the city was a little stuck in their ways and didn't allow any tattoo parlors, but we brought them in. They're an art gallery / tattoo parlor. We have a great digital media firm that's in here now, a lot of art-related businesses that complement all of what we're doing. And the crown jewel of all of that is where we all are right now, the Kelsey Theater. So again, for some history, Kelsey, the name of Lake Park, Henry Kelsey was the guy that founded Lake Park. And back in the 20s, it was called Kelsey City. So that's where the name comes from. And back then, Kelsey City was a place to be. All the rich Palm Beachers, Harry Flagler, all those guys would come and they would party here. This was like the cultural hub and where all the locals came. So after reading about all that, that really helped me want to bring it back and inspired a lot of what you see. So this was an old, again, more history. It was called the Kelsey Club before we took over. And it was more of a rock concert, which we still do now, but it was definitely a little more grimy back then. And then when that shut down, it was the Mozart Theater. And they did a lot of independent film and independent theater, and that was really important to what we're doing as well. So we wanted to combine all that together, and now we do many different events here. You name it. We've had everything from Henry Rollins to the Dead Kennedys to a dog circus to a cat show. So we really do everything that and support all forms of art. And I think that's really important that we don't pigeonhole what we consider art and add to the culture and the community that we've built. And it's really been an amazing grassroots effort. And again, the reason that we're all here tonight is for Kelsey Cares. And we were approved finally after a year of waiting for our official 501c3. And that happened in July of last year. So our new spearhead now is Kelsey Cares, and the mission of Kelsey Cares is to fund art, theater, music, film, and cultural development through community outreach by providing subsidies for productions, events, artists, and musicians to carry out their mission. So what that means to me is we are able to provide subsidies for artists and actually pay them for their work. Believe it or not, a lot of people ask not only musicians but fine artists as well to just play or do their craft for exposure. And that really goes against everything that we believe. So Kelsey Cares helps underwrite all of that and give artists a platform to share without financial barriers. So one of our major projects, and what you can see behind me, what was there earlier, was our Back Alley Mural project. And when we took over the building, we lobbied the city to allow us to do a mural. And believe it or not, the town of Lake Park had absolutely no codes or any regulation on outdoor murals or public art. So we literally helped the town write the code for what we're doing. And I'm going to welcome to the stage one of my good friends, Craig McInnes. He's our art director on the project. And Craig, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about how you got involved here and what We'll have the mural project.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Let's give it up for AJ, first of all. All of that inspiring story. The years pass by and it leads up to this moment right here, and you're here for this moment, so we appreciate that. I got involved with AJ and Brewhouse early on by just kind of stumbling into the place, because I'm just a networker type like you are. And I heard about it and I was like, I gotta see this. And they were still under construction, and I moseyed my way in and I said, kind of like I would to any other entrepreneur, like, how can I help you? You know, I figure if I can help you, you can probably help me, and we'll just see how this thing turns out. So here we are years later, 4, I guess, and because you're coming up on your 4-year anniversary at Brewhouse, don't miss it. But one of his brainchilds was this back alley, because it's just a blank wall and it's an alley, and wouldn't it be great? I'm an artist, so any wall that's blank is like, come on, let's put some color on it, even if it's abstract. So his brainchild was to attack this back wall. So we reached out to some of the premier muralists here locally and asked them to participate. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. We didn't know how it was going to be funded. We just knew that we wanted to do it. So much like a lot of his story, it just kind of manifested itself through the fact that, okay, we want this thing. Let's find out what the obstacles are, let's find out what the challenges are, and let's just start knocking them out of the way. Of course, money would be one of those first things, because as he stated, mission of Kelsey Cares, or the mission of AJ before Kelsey Cares even existed, was that an artist should be paid for his or her time. So that's where it came about. Now, we did reach out to artists who were like, I don't care, man, I'll do this wall. You know, I love AJ, I'll do the wall anyway. And that's a sweet sentiment, but you know, professional artists need to be paid. So we're moving into our 4th phase, which I find amazing because, you know, Lake Park Art District being a budding art district, much like that of a Wynwood from 15, 20 years ago type of thing. To have this kind of momentum already really gives me a lot of hope. And I want to say this, people like you, actually, by supporting a budding art district, you are helping to keep that kind of thing alive, keeping that momentum moving, keeping artists and musicians working, which, as you all know, you probably wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't agree, that culture is the cornerstone of the beginning of any good community. So I want to thank you guys. Before anything else happens tonight, I want to thank you guys very much, and I appreciate you letting me share the stage with you tonight. We're moving into phase 4. That's going to be a culminating event with the 4-year anniversary for Brewhouse. There's going to be tons of music, tons of art, tons of great food, and the unveiling of phase 4, which you can see. I imagine you mocked it up, of course. The Digital Wizard has put the art that doesn't even exist yet, really, up on the wall to cover phase 2, I believe it is, that we're going over. So this is a rotating mural that's going to be it's a cultural phenomenon as far as I'm concerned, and it's a destination, which is what the whole art district basically is.
100%, Craig, yeah. And Craig's been with me from the beginning. We click on a personal level, but also on a creative level. And when we had this idea, we built a dream team around it. And behind Kelsey is the very first phase. And we're going to leave that one until next year, on year 5. We'll be painting over that. But like Craig said, we're starting again. And one of the things, too, I wanted to mention, I kind of glazed over it earlier, but every project that we've undertaken has been completely funded by people like you guys. And what I mean by that is we don't have any government subsidies, we don't have any grant money. It's literally been, you know, $10 here, $5 there, $100 here, $1,000 there. And that really shows that it's been a grassroots effort of everybody in the community that really rallies behind it. And before Kelsey Cares even existed, we were able to raise almost $50,000 to renovate the theater here, which is where you're in now. I mean, it was a dive before, and we were able to upgrade all the audio and really make this a great spot. And then subsequently, again, for every project that we've done with the mural, we've hit about 10,000, which is our goal That gets the artist paid. All of our material is paid for with the local business. Easel Art Supply, credit teachers for them, but they've been here for 30 years in Lake Park, and we order all of our paint from them. Nobody takes a salary. Kelsey Cares, the nonprofit itself, is again all volunteer based. I'm the board, or I'm the executive director, but we have a lot of the board members here tonight. Doug and Angel, I don't know if you guys are here. I'm sure you'll introduce yourselves as we go. But yeah, and they've been great. Sharon Felber, again, I don't know if she's here as well. Again, we built a really great team, and that's, even if you aren't able to contribute financially, it'd be great if, your contacts, any ideas that you might have for some fundraisers. Again, some other projects that we support, again, which I know is near and dear to Greg's heart, we've helped fund Continuum, which is another project that a local artists are involved in West Palm. You want to maybe tell everybody what that's about? And we gave a $1,000 grant to Continuum.
Yeah, so I'm part of a pop-up gallery that happens in downtown West Palm Beach. It's another effort to support local artists looking for venues that they might usually not have access to. This year we were in City Place, which was just a blessing. And it is backed by a startup, not-for-profit itself called No More Starving Artists, which really, the name gets right to the heart of it. It's like, we don't want anyone like perpetuating that stereotype any longer. Kelsey Cares got its official status right as we were looking for donors. As luck would have it, we were looking for donors for something called Young Masters. I see some young artists out here. I see one young face right here in the front. If you're a young artist and you're just in middle school or high school, look, some of us are really paying attention. We want you to come up and be the next generation. If you're a muralist, maybe this is on your horizon. So what Continuum does is supports not just artists from Bach Middle School and from Dreyfus School of the Arts, but from any school, anyone who is looking to show work, do work, learn from professionals. Your $1,000 gift from Kelsey Cares to No More Starving Artists for the Continuum show helped kids have free education from professional artists and opportunity to show and sell. We sold a lot of student work inside a professional grade gallery show inside the confines of City Place. So this is all this hustle that artists do on a regular anyway. It's just that those of us who like to do that greater good thing, like and AJ has done it his whole life, is you want to reach out, you want to spread that wealth. If you're doing something that benefits many, right? It's that whole thing of if the water rises, all the boats rise, right? So we want to bring all the artists together. Those who have not shown yet, those who are so young they haven't had an opportunity to yet, those that are maybe hiding in their studio because they're introverts. We want to bring them all out. And I will say Lake Park pretty much embodies that. Everyone's welcome. Everybody. Professional, not professional. It doesn't matter.
100%, man. Yeah, no doubt. And again, I mean, we say local, and what we mean by local, is Northern Palm Beach County. I mean, whether it's happening in West Palm, whether it's happening in Lake Worth, Jupiter, you name it. I mean, as long as it fits our ideals, and like Greg said, that's what we're all about. And another great thing that we do is work with VSA, Very Special Artists. They're a state-run program for artists with disabilities. Kelsey Cares underwrites a wall space at Brewhouse next door for them, and we bring them in, we do a reception, they feel like rock stars, they're able to have their art on display, we do a little cocktail time, juice for those that are not on drinking age, and then I do a speech there as well, not only disability focused on what you can accomplish anything, but also for artists in general, something me and Craig talk about a lot. You have to be a businessman or woman as well when it comes to making a living from your art, and we try to drive home the fact that when somebody wants to buy your art, they're buying a piece of you. So you have to be able to really give them your story, make it unique, and really try to drive that home, because that's just as important as what it is you're painting on the canvas. So we give all that again, free of charge advice on how to make a living as an artist. So, all right, I know we're running a little late on time. I'm going to wrap a little bit more here up with Craig, and then we're going to some questions. So hang out on stage for me, Craig. But I'm going to say, another big part of all this is building a team. And Eddie Stevens here tonight, he's part of my team now. And I have an amazing group of people, Craig, everybody I've mentioned, that really help make this all possible. And if you're an entrepreneur yourself, or you're just a young kid trying to figure out the world, don't be afraid to ask for help. Call on different mentors in your life, and really try to build the people around you, because if you surround yourself with the right people, you can accomplish some really amazing things. So that's a really, really important piece of advice I'm going to say. Again, we set out 3 years ago to do Brew House, and now this is transformed into so much more. And we never, when we went into business, it was never focusing on, ROIs and business reports and a good business plan. I mean, if we went to the bank and showed them our thoughts, they'd probably laugh at us. But, and really, I think that's the true measure of success, is when, you do something without expecting anything in return. And that's really worked out well for us. So, above all, I gotta thank my mom. She was in the video. She's here backstage somewhere. Totally. She's been my biggest influence in life. My business partner now. She's here day to day. I have the vision, but my mom, keeps me grounded and goes, what are you thinking? We're not going to do that. Yeah, she wishes she would say that more, and we wouldn't be where we are. So, no, she's been great, and we're a family-owned and operated business here at Kelsey and Brew House, and we're here every day just trying to hustle and keep the momentum going. And then, last but not least, we all deal with struggles on a daily basis. Mine is more apparent, obviously the elephant in the room, being in a chair, but I can truly say that my success is a direct result of a positive attitude. And if you can have a positive attitude, you can accomplish really anything. And always try to focus on, what you can do rather than what you can't do. And moving forward, I think that's the best advice that I can give. And I appreciate all of you being here tonight. Again, I get a lot of comments that, oh, well, AJ, you're an inspiration, man. And, if I can be inspirational, then that's great. But really, at the end of the day, it's about, just trying to make the best of the life that we have. And again, I think I've pretty much done a lot of that. I even have a beautiful fiance now and a little kid, so my buddy Abel, my boy. So things have really been great, and we're hoping to continue all of that through Kelsey Care. So thank you guys for being here. And I think we may have 1 or 2 more minutes. I don't want to cut into Eddie too much, but if you want to put the house lights up, guys, for 1 minute, and do we have any questions? Me and Craig, we're going to take a few questions. Anybody? Feel free to raise your hand, yell it out. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I saw some really good art up there. Is there anywhere I can anywhere to purchase some of your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So my art, personally, my entire catalog is at singlehandedstudio.com. But if you go next door to Brewhouse Gallery, I have a whole wall there myself. Usually I give up my wall so that we can have another artist be there, but this round I happen to be there. We update our art at Brewhouse every 3 months as well, which is one thing I didn't really mention. So it's always something new and fresh. And I think even some of my art is in the lobby here at Kelsey, so you can check that out. I have art all over the place. I don't even remember where it is anymore, but it's better than being in a closet. So, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, man. I'm here. On the left? Yeah.
You.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
I have a question about, we always hear Brockman Presentation, but there's a lot of other art schools here in Palm Beach County, like Duncan Middle School who has art, theater, and I don't know if they know about you guys, but are you in the schools? Because these kids would love to make a show.
No doubt. That's a great question. I'll let you speak on that too, Craig. So I'm a graduate of Duncan Middle. I went there. I think we even have Miss Griffith, one of the teachers at Duncan, is our concession helper for tonight. But yeah, I really enjoy going to schools and doing presentations. I'd love to do more. Craig, I know you're pretty involved, right?
The Young Masters thing that I mentioned that we do through Continuum, being that Continuum is young, and so is No More Starving Artists, just like Kelsey Cares. It's been more on the onus of the school to find us. And those were the low-hanging fruit, of course, Bach and Dreyfus. But there were kids from other schools. Great, and I'm going to give you a card when I come off the stage. But yeah, that is our goal. All inclusive, all inclusive is the goal because there's so much talent everywhere. I mean, I didn't go to a school of the arts, and none of my artist friends that I hang with closely really did either. That's what we glommed onto. So yeah, we want that to happen for everybody.
Absolutely, we'd love to be a part. Anybody else? Other questions? Yes, go ahead, right in front.
Do you only do like painting art, or do you have like photography art?
Yeah, so that's a good question. A lot of people think that what I do is a form of photography, but my process, and again, it's hard to see it in the video, but if you go to my website, you get to see literally me creating a piece from beginning to end. So really, everything that I'm doing now is computer-based, and I use photo reference, but they're not like copies of photos or, photos that I would take and then run a filter on or something like that. But I've been so busy here, I run a lot of the day-to-day booking, and I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing now as an artist, running multiple venues and trying to keep the lights on. But so unfortunately that's taken some time away from my art, but as with all things, it's about getting it up off the ground, and again, like I said, building a team around me that really believes in the vision and supports, and people I trust to further the vision, and then I can get back to more art. So yeah, awesome. Anybody else? No? All right, well, thank you all. Please consider donating. We're going to open up, again, Eddie is going to give a great presentation, but in about 1 week, by April 1st, which is Monday, right, or Tuesday, we're going to do a fundraising campaign on Indiegogo as well. So, again, if you'd like to learn more, you can visit that, but we are taking donations in the lobby tonight. If you introduce yourself to Nikki, she's at the ticket booth, and we'd be happy to take any credit card or payment that you have. And we have an awesome brick program, which was the last thing I wanted to mention. For $125, you can get a engraved brick at the front of Kelsey Theater, and I think that's really an awesome way to be a part of our arts district. Your name, your loved one, your business, really, it will be here literally in the ground forever.
Forever.
So,
This art district is going nowhere, so you'll be there. You're immortalized.
Totally. So that's a really exciting project that we're finally able to bring to life. It's been about a year in the making. We started that project and didn't realize how complicated bricks were, but they're pretty complicated. So, but we're good to go now. So, all right, thank you all, and I
Appreciate your time.